While a lot of cards in Clash Royale remain absolutely broken, some others are just useless. Every arena has that one card that feels like trash. From training camp, that card is the mini pekka. But what about the other arenas? So let's start with Arena 1. The worst card from the Goblin Stadium is Goblins. Everything in the game seems to counter them. Log, Zap, or even Spirits can wipe them out. They barely ever get chip damage. Skeletons do their job better, and for one less elixir. Even Spear Goblins are easier to get chip damage with because of their range. But Goblins, well, they just suck. Moving on to Arena 2, the worst card from the Bone Pit is the Tombstone. I don't think it's really bad, but compared to other buildings, it's not in a very good state. Cannon, Tesla, and Goblin Hut are much preferred buildings in the meta. The Tombstone can definitely provide some good value against cards which have a slow hit speed, but against other cards, it mostly sucks. A simple log or arrows can counter it instantly, including the skeletons which spawn when it's destroyed. It was mainly used with Graveyard and Lava Hound decks before, but even those decks avoid it nowadays. For the same amount of elixir, Cannon is much better because of its evolution. Therefore, the Tombstone is in desperate need for a small buff to make it viable. From Arena 3, the worst card we have are the Barbarians. The Barbarians have consistently been one of the most horrible cards in Clash Royale. The Barbarians have a nearly 0% use rate, with a bad 47% win rate. Even with their evolution, they're way too slow and easy to counter. A simple fireball and poof, they're gone! They're good at countering beatdown tanks, but with heavy decks not being too viable in the meta, there's basically no point in using the Barbarians. With the rise of spells and splash damage cards in Clash Royale, it seems really hard for the Barbarians to find a place in the meta. Other than bridge spam, you won't see them being used in any deck. If you think Barbarians need a buff, then hit that like and subscribe button. In Arena 4, you unlock a lot of shit cards, but none more than Wizard. Every pro in the game agrees that Wizard is one of the most useless cards in Clash Royale. If you're facing a player stupid enough to group their cards together, then yes, the Wizard can provide crazy value, but other than that, he remains totally useless. Do you know what the Wizard's win percentage is? 44%! That's horrible! So what's the issue with him? First of all, he costs 5 elixir, which is a lot, but for 5 elixir, the value he provides is minimal. He's easily countered by spells like Fireball or Poison, which cost 1 elixir less. Secondly, his hit speed is slow, meaning he's not a threat on offense too. Cards like Musketeer, Executioner, Ice Wizard, or Archer Queen are just infinite times better. There is no deck in the game which becomes better if you put a wizard in it. On the contrary, having a wizard in your deck makes it a lot worse. So if you're using the wizard in your deck, you might need to rethink a bit. In Arena 5, you unlock mostly good cards, except one, and that's the Rocket. Gone are the days when Rocket was used as a sole win condition in spell cycle decks. Now, with so many tower damage nerfs, its use rates have declined. Every other big spell in the game is better than the Rocket. Fireball, Poison, and of course the Lightning, they all are much more versatile. The problem with Rocket is that it has such a small damage area. Therefore, you can't really use it for prediction. You also can't use it for countering most troops because that will put you in a negative elixir trade. You can only use it if you're not skilled enough to actually break through your opponent's defenses. Expo players. Moving on to Arena 6, the worst card you can unlock here is the Skeleton Army. In my opinion, the Skeleton Army is the most overrated card in Clash Royale. It's literally always a walking negative elixir trade. Log, Zap, Barbarian Barrel, all counter it easily. If your opponent predicts your Skeleton Army with any of these spells, you're cooked. It's decent in lower arenas when players are not skilled enough, but as soon as you start facing better players, you realize that this card is absolutely shit. For 3 elixir, Guards and Goblin Gang are a far better option than the Skeleton Army. In fact, you will never really see this card being played at top ladder because everyone, including the pros, know that this card sucks. In Arena 7, a lot of aggressive cards are unlocked, and the worst card here are the 3 Musketeers, arguably the worst card in Clash Royale. The 3 Musketeers have just never found their place in the meta. They are the most expensive card in the game, but they get countered by spells which cost much less elixir than them. A 3 Musketeers dominant meta is something no one wants, which is why Supercell never really touches the card. With card evolutions and spells being so dominant in the meta, I don't think we'll see the 3 Musketeers return anytime soon. A major rework is needed for the card, but it's just a really hard card to balance anyways. What changes would you make to the Three Musketeers to make them viable? In Arena 8, the worst card is undoubtedly the Battle Healer. The only decks that use the Battle Healer to some extent were Elixir Golem and regular Golem Beatdown, but since both of these decks have fallen out of the meta, the Battle Healer has become completely unusable. She gets easily countered before she can heal herself and nearby troops. I feel like her attacks are too slow, which in turn reduces her healing potential. A solo Battle Healer is one of the easiest cards to counter on offense. Besides that, she's also useless on defense because of her low damage. I'm not sure how Supercell will decide to design her evolved version, but I really wish it's not anything toxic. A Battle Healer meta will be the most obnoxious meta we've ever had, and I hope we never get that. In Arena 9, we have some good cards, but also the worst card in the entire game, the Barbarian Hut. It's undoubtedly the most useless building in Clash Royale. For 6 Elixir, you get a horrible building which can't counter anything. It dies to every big spell, the Barbarians don't do shit, and it's just a negative Elixir trade every time. The major issue with the Barbarian Hut is its low hit points. For a 6 Elixir building, you would expect to have at least some decent health. But no, it dies to even a 3 Elixir Earthquake. It poses no threat on offense, it spawns 3 Barbarians at a time, they are slow and get countered by everything. Lately, spawner buildings are getting a rework, so I expect Supercell has a nice rework in store for the Barbarian Hut too. But until then, Barbarian Hut will hold the title for the worst card in Clash Royale. Moving on to Arena 10, the worst card from Hog Mountain is the Minion Horde. The recent buff to the minions made them viable, but it hardly had any effect on the Minion Horde. Despite the new increased range, the problem with the Minion Horde remains the same. It costs 5 Elixir, which is way too much, and in return, it provides next to no value. The biggest counter for the Minion Horde are the arrows, which are always super popular in the meta. As long as arrows remain viable, the Minion Horde has no place in any deck. There are many splash damage cards in the meta too, which makes it further difficult to use the Minion Horde. Do you think the Minion Horde should cost 1 less Elixir? Discuss in the comments. Arena 11 is filled with legendary cards, and the worst one of them is undoubtedly the Sparky. The infamous trash can on wheels has been in a terrible spot since the last few years. It takes forever to shoot and can be distracted so easily. Not to mention you can literally reset her attack with a stun card. Logbait and Royal Recruits have been 2 really popular decks recently, and both of them are a hard counter for the Sparky. Also, the new card releases and the evolutions don't help. It feels like every new card Supercell releases somehow counters the Sparky. The Sparky was being used in only one Goblin Giant deck, but that deck isn't seen much nowadays. Well, I don't mind Sparky being a bad card, but honestly I dislike it. What about you? In Arena 12, the worst card you can find is the Phoenix. We haven't really seen much of the Phoenix ever since the one meta in which she was broken on her release. The only reason Phoenix was good was because she could respawn quickly from her egg, but now that her respawn times have been nerfed constantly, it feels like you never really see a second Phoenix on the field. She's basically a Mega Minion which costs 1 extra Elixir. Her movement speed is slow and she takes forever to reach the tower. Her attacks no longer deal the same damage as they used to. Other flying units like Inferno Dragon and Skeleton Dragons are infinite times better than her. The Phoenix is in a pretty bad spot right now and can definitely use a small buff. Moving on to Arena 13, the worst card we have here is the Healed Spirit. The Healed Spirit has the worst use rate out of all the 1 Elixir cards, with only 1% of players using it. I'm not even sure when was the last time my Healed Spirit actually healed something in time. Mostly, it gets wiped out right before healing anything. The Healed Spirit is only seen with some toxic Goblin Giant or Bridge Spam decks. Even those decks don't really have any need to use the Healed Spirit. I feel like if its damage was buffed, it can be somewhat viable, but right now it's just a garbage card. As the worst card for Arena 14, we have the Night Witch. The Night Witch is one of my favorite cards, and it absolutely sucks to see her in the state she is right now. With so many splash damage cards being dominant in the meta, the Night Witch has not found a place in her usual beatdown decks like Golem or Elixir Golem. Spells like Poison or Fireball counter her easily. The regular Witch is much better because of her evolution now as compared to the Night Witch. With the Furnace being strong in the meta right now, the Night Witch has become even more irrelevant than before. The Fire Spirits instantly kill her bats, and if she's alone, she's not that big of a threat. The Night Witch's use rates have been consistently declining, and she currently currently sits at a mere 2% usage rate. I hope she gets an evolution soon because she definitely deserves a place in the meta. Arena 15. The Miner's Mine is actually a gold mine for finding trash cards. It's hard to choose the worst card from such a horrible lineup of cards, but if I had to choose one, it would be the Clone Spell. It's good at catching people off guard, but once the surprise factor is gone, you're done. The Clone has a less than 1% use rate and a terrible 46% win rate in Clash Royale. There are very few cards that benefit from the Clone Spell, and they too have fallen out of the meta. The only card you can synergize Clone with right now is the Skeleton Barrel, but when everyone's running a shit ton of spells, buildings, and splash damage dealing cards, Clone becomes absolutely useless. In Arena 16, you unlock 2 champions, the Golden Knight and the Skeleton King. Neither of these two are actually bad, but if I had to choose, the Skeleton King is definitely the weaker of the two. He's mostly only seen in Mortar decks and maybe some off-meta Elixir Golem decks. You always need to pair him with Swarms to maximize his ability. This is a reason why a lot of times you won't even be able to use it. And even if you activate his ability, a simple log or zap can wipe out all the skeletons. Without his special ability, the Skeleton King is fairly easy to counter and doesn't really provide much value. Next, in Arena 17, the worst champion out of the 3 is the Mighty Miner. Don't get me wrong, he is a strong champion. It's just that the other 2 are better. The main deck which used to feature the Mighty Miner was Logbait, but since it got heavily nerfed this season, other decks are starting to use the Mighty Miner more. His ability is useful if you want to make some smart plays, although you might not want to activate it every time. It's kind of a situational card too. It worked really well versus some matchups. Against others, it's horrible. And finally, as the worst card from Arena 18, we have the Goblinstein. After receiving a series of nerfs, the Goblinstein is a dead champion. If your deck features the Goblinstein, then it's definitely a bad deck. But did you know there are 20 other signs which can determine if your deck sucks or not? To know more about those signs, click on this video.